Welcome to another episode of Global Life by KORRA, where I interview amazing women from all over the world who have embarked a global lifestyle and are here to inspire you to do the same. So today I'm here with a very special guest, and I'm very curious to hear all her story and her journey with Dr. Edith Shiro from...
Originally from Venezuela, living in Miami by way of New York.
Oh, wow. See, that's already a whole mouthful. So welcome, Dr. W. We met yesterday, actually, at a women's circle and women's community of Happy in Lisbon. And I was inspired to hear more about your journey and share your book. We will get into that, but also your journey around the world. So tell us a little bit about you. Who are you and what's your background?
Yes, so in the context of traveling and talking about all these different countries, I was born in Venezuela to a Syrian Israeli father and a Romanian mother. So I'm first generation Venezuela, but it feels like I'm a little bit of a tourist there too. Mm-hmm. And then I moved to Boston. And then from Boston, I moved to New York, and from New York, I moved to Miami, and here we are in Lisboa right now. And I've been a clinical psychologist all my life, pretty much.
Okay.
I've been in private practice. I see patients from all over the world. I've always used Zoom, even before the pandemic. I already knew Zoom for 10 years, so for me it was very easy to be using that.
Yeah.
And why? Because not only I see patients in person, which I've always done, but also since I see people from all over the world, this is one way of connecting, and it also gives me flexibility to move to different places and keep doing what I do.
Tell us about your current project. You're working on a book, or you just published a book. Tell us about it.
Yes, so in my work, I specialize in relationships and working with couples, families, adults, young adults. But one of the things that I've done for the last 25 years is work with trauma. And I just published this book called The Unexpected Gift of Trauma, The Path to Post-Traumatic Growth. And it's all about not just people going through difficulty and adversity, but how do you transform that into a possibility of growth, of change, of transformation. And I think when we know that's a possibility, it's like a trampoline that takes us into another level. And it opens up for more wisdom, more consciousness, and more meaningful relationships. And that's really something that I keep working on, that I see my patients going through. And also, I mean, what I offer is a 5-stage framework in how to get from this place of trauma and suffering and difficulty. And it doesn't have to be big. Sometimes it's everyday kind of trauma. And how do you really go through the steps to get to this other side of more understanding, of more opening up, of more expansion really, and more like growth mindset.
Okay. What was the reason for your choice for this particular subject?
Because, when I work with patients and they come to me, obviously when they're in a bad place or when they are suffering or when there are situations that are difficult to handle and they don't have the tools maybe to handle it, what I've seen in this facilitation process, and not just with one individual, it's sometimes with collective groups, with communities, with cultures, is that the evolution to get to a better place takes steps that I've seen repeated every time.
It's like a pattern.
It's like a pattern.
Okay.
And if people know that there's a pattern of possibility for positivity after something difficult, I think people are more aware that this can happen. It brings hope. I think that's the most important, that it brings hope to people to say, even though I've gone through something difficult, or even though I've gone through trauma, even though I've traveled to another place and I don't know anybody, it's not a life sentence that it's bad. It's not like trauma is something bad. It's like, oh, I have the possibility of doing something different.
And I think it's important for people to realize that if you have a trauma, traveling or moving to somewhere else, it's not going to take it away. It's not like a cure. Everywhere you go, you are with everything that you have. So it's good indeed to start working on what the causes are, and then through traveling, it will help it help you transform your thoughts and come to certain realizations. Because what I've noticed is when I'm in a different environment or in a new environment, my thought patterns also change. My eyes become open to new things, and I get to learn more things about myself that I didn't do when I was in my,
I love that. I love what you're saying. And, it's funny that you say that, because before reading my book, and you already know some of what's in here, is that the first step is to radically accept where you're at.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter how much you've traveled. If you don't connect with yourself, and you don't realize who you are and what's happening to you, and what are the things that you keep repeating or you keep doing that are not changing, you have to pause and stop and say, I honestly and radically accept, this is what's happening to me. And after that, then you can begin to change. And you can begin to say, okay, let me look for help. Let me do something different. Let me open up to new possibilities. And then the third stage is the stage of creating new narratives. The new narratives is like maybe traveling, maybe going to another place and saying, I've never traveled to this place, so I've never allowed myself to try something different, and opening up to new stories about yourself. It's like, some traveling allows you to recreate your identity.
It really does.
Right.
It does,
It's like, in this place where I'm from, people know me in one way.
Yeah.
If I move to another place, it allows me to restart and rewrite my story. And I can tell it the way I want it. And I can reorganize my identity in a way that it's a new way of being. And I can relate to people in a different way. Or I can see myself from a different light. And it's an amazing possibility to do that. And from there, what you do is like, you don't negate who you are, because that's the fourth stage of integration.
Okay.
You can say, yes, I'm from this place, but I'm also this. I come from Venezuela, but I also live in Lisboa. Or and
That's the thing. You can be two things merged into a new you.
Exactly.
So it doesn't have to be either or.
Exactly.
But you can, merge and become something more beautiful or more powerful or more, more wisdom. Many things can come out of that new situation.
Have you been reading my book? That's what I'm.
The universe has connected us.
Yes, that's exactly. It's a both ends.
Yes,
You do the
yeah.
both, and then the fifth stage is the stage of wisdom and growth. So the stage when you really are open to completely new ways of being. Your relationships become more intimate or more meaningful. Your priorities are clearer. You have a sense of purpose that maybe you didn't have before. Life becomes much more rich in that sense. It's much more meaningful, I think.
Exactly. Because I first took a sabbatical when I came to Lisbon. I didn't come here to move. I came here after my divorce. I needed time for myself to reinvent myself and also think what this new chapter of my life is going to be like. And I realized that here I was able to breathe, which is something very important.
Wow.
when you go through something very traumatic. In my case, it wasn't the divorce that was the trauma, but I was assaulted in my house. It was not a nice experience.
Oh wow.
And it made me feel unsafe. So because I got divorced, I didn't feel like I was able to stay where I was at because I didn't feel safe anymore. So I needed to come to a place where I could find that. And in researching, for different reasons, Portugal kept calling me, but one of the reasons was safety, because it's a very, very safe country. So once I got here and I realized, yes, I'm safe, I could start breathing again, and then things started opening up, and then I started to realize, okay, I'm no longer a mom. I am a mom, of course, but my daughter's now in college. So, who am I now? Who can I be? I'm not a wife at this moment, so who can I be?
Wow.
I was not working. I stopped with my businesses to give myself time. So what kind of business do I want to do now? So all these possibilities come when you take time for yourself.
Yes.
And you're in a different environment, in a new environment.
Yes.
There's nobody showing you, oh, this is how you're supposed to be.
Wow.
You create it.
I absolutely love it. And one of the things that I think you're giving us as an example is to take the risk. to actually acknowledge where you're at and that maybe you're not feeling safe, and take the risk to say, I'm willing to go someplace else to find that safety.
Yes. Yeah.
Which opens instead of closing, right? Some people feel like when they're threatened or when they feel dangers, they close up.
Yeah. And they paralyze.
They paralyze, or they run away, or they fight back. These are typical trauma responses.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful in your case that when you felt safe, you were able to open instead of paralyzing or fighting or flying, fight, flight, or freeze. You were able to say, I'm here, I'm opening, I'm allowing new things to come into my life, developing new relationships, new identities, new narratives, new ways of being. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and that's why this is what I chose to do as my new goal in life, to share this new experience with as many women as I can from around the world, because it's a blessing. It's a blessing that we have now. We're living in a time that we can do it. It wasn't always like this. Women were not always able to say, okay, I'm going to another country on my own, not even to travel for a few days, let alone move to another country. So we are in a good time to do this, and many women are hearing the calling, because right now, especially here in Lisbon, where we're at right now, I'm meeting women from all over the world who are going through the same thing. They feel like this is the time for them to explore new cultures, do new things, grow, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I think your book is coming at the right time as well, which will help women that have gone through their own trauma, whatever trauma that may be, because we all need guidance. We don't have to go through anything in life alone. As long as we know there's others that have been through what we've been through, it also gives us comfort, and it gives us like a little bit of a guidance of how we can see the light as well in our own life. So
that's so beautiful. You're such a perfect example of post-traumatic growth. This is a beautiful example of what people go through, and look what comes on the other side. I love that. And women do have the choices now to do this. I think there's still countries in the world in which women don't have the right, in which women are oppressed, and we need to be very mindful of that as well.
Exactly.
And maybe send the message that this is something that can be changed, and that we can put the intention there to transform that as well.
Exactly.
So we can all live with more freedom and more awareness and more consciousness about what's happening around, because it's very, I think it's we have to be careful not to do one thing and not be mindful about what's happening around.
It's not
right?
a situation for everyone, of course.
Yes. And I think the more we women that we are able to do that, do it more and talk about it more and spread the word more, it can help other women as well.
Yes.
And set an example as well in how these transformations can happen in a beautiful way.
And what cannot be now, today, can be something in the future.
Yes.
So as long as we plant seeds,
Yes.
For those who feel the calling, because it's not also always for everyone either.
Right.
Not everybody has the
And
longing.
No, and sometimes traveling can happen within.
Exactly.
Traveling has all kinds of shapes as well. I mean, you can travel within your own town. You can travel within your own self. You can travel all over the globe. But it's something transformational in that
Very
travel.
personal.
Yes.
It's also very it's different for everyone, but the beauty is it is possible. There are possibilities.
Yes.
So we don't want women anywhere in the world to feel trapped and there's no hope. So whatever light we can shed, even if it's just listening to other stories, if that gives you hope, that's already a seed that's being planted to help you through your own
I love
process.
that. And I think one of the things to remember is that we don't have to do this alone.
No.
That the power of connection, the power of relationships, the power of community is what makes a difference. And I think you and I are creating that
you
community.
You sent me a nice link
Yes.
with a video
Yeah.
highlighting the importance of connection,
Yes.
and that's right now the way to heal each other as well. So it was very beautiful. Yeah,
I'm glad, and look, this is an example of what we're doing right now, and hopefully we can continue to do it with ourselves and with others.
Yes,
and
talk,
be creating
just talk.
community.
Talk. And one thing I've learned is, even though you don't know somebody, be open. Be open to listen.
Yes.
And you'll be amazed sometimes
Yes.
how universe connects you with the right person, even though from the outside you may have nothing in common. But once you start connecting, you will realize, oh my God, there's a reason. So, but you also came to Portugal now for a very special reason. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I consider myself a pilgrim in some ways. So one of the ways in which I connect with myself, with earth, and with other cultures is through pilgrimages.
Yes.
And one of the most amazing ways of walking is El Camino de Santiago.
Yes.
So tomorrow I'm going to start from Porto to walk for 3 weeks all the way to Santiago de Compostela in Spain by walking and with groups of people. I mean, there's like really a lot of people that do this, and you start, as you're connecting with yourself, you start connecting with people in the Camino also, because there are other pilgrims as well, and everybody says buen camino, and it's a way of really understanding that there's a bigger world out there. Also to allowing yourself to go through a little transformation that happens from within, because it's challenging, it's a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Physical challenges and emotional challenges and spiritual challenges. So you have to deal with that, but at the same time you're not alone. You're with people around all the time. Everybody's very much connected into this as well, because everybody's going through the same journey. And I think I did it once already, from France all the way to Santiago de Compostela, and it was transformation. It was like before Camino and after Camino.
Yeah.
So I'm
A
happy
big
that
shift, a
I'm
big transformation.
Healing.
Well, I wish you a very transformative Camino.
Gracias.
Magical, where you
Thank
meet the right people at the right time. And I'm sure you got a lot of new insights from it. Maybe for a new book. You never know.
That would be amazing, and then maybe we can talk again, and
Yes,
we'll share all
definitely.
those
Yes, definitely.
all those experiences of wisdom, and maybe a lot of you will be inspired and want to come again. We'll do a Camino together.
Definitely. I didn't even know there was one possibility from Portugal. So now that I know, you never know.
You never know.
Well, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best. And thanks for joining us. And thank you for also joining us. And looking forward to see you again next week in Global Life by KORRA.
Thank you. Ciao.